Okay, what happened as of yesterday? Because August 18th was important for Prop 8.
I have no idea what happened yesterday.
I know, I forgot to check too.
I have no idea what happened. Does anybody know?
Somehow I think...
It's been stayed.
Right.
Okay.
There will be no marriages performed until the Circuit Court of Appeals has a chance to look at it in December.
Okay. So what this judge had done was he said Prop 8 is unconstitutional and people should be able to get married regardless of sexual orientation. Everybody was very happy about this. And then, it went on to Circuit Court of Appeals, and they're saying, we gotta let this sit, because we can't just totally undo Prop 8 like that, because it was voted on. And so we need to wait and see what's going to happen. And that comes up like in October or November.
December.
Okay.
So the question is now, we're a little patient, we give it these months. If it goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says yes on gay marriage, that could affect other states in America, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And other states already...
It's almost worth being patient for.
Oh, sure. And other states have already agreed to allow gay marriage. Iowa allows gay marriage. Maine allows gay marriage.
I'd love to see Mississippi and Louisiana deal with this. I'd love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 8 or... I want to say there's like 8 or 10 states.
But the crazy thing about California, we can vote on our Constitution. And that's what's so upsetting, is because... I love the law, I love facts, and people are like, oh, that's California's Constitution. We're allowed to vote on it. And then the popular vote said, no on gay marriage. And I'm like, damn it, you're right,
I think that's part of the difficulty of California law, though, is that they keep changing the Constitution as opposed to...
Right, and it may actually go against our federal Constitution, 14th Amendment.
Right.
Which is kind of cool. Which they're all up in, like they, meaning the crazy right, are up in arms because of the immigration issue. They're calling them immigrant babies, or what are they called? Drop. One man even said this on TV, coming and dropping a baby, and then that means your child is already an American citizen. You can apply for a green card because, like, I have to stay with my child. So that's the 14th Amendment. Anchor baby. Yeah, 14th Amendment is kind of like on everybody's radar right now. Mm-hmm. So this is one more thing about the 14th Amendment that I think our state constitution is going against the 14th Amendment.
We'll have to see.
I know. It's kind of exciting. This is an exciting time.
It is.
I would rather we can have this conversation and we're not wearing burqas.
Sure.
We live in America.
Yeah,
so.
We're not as likely to get killed for having this conversation, which is nice. That's very nice.
I don't ever take it for granted. I love America.
You never know.
Don't ever take it for granted.
One of the things that I'm going to be doing at the end of September, and hopefully we'll be able to do another show before then, because I'd like to, is I'm actually going to be attending and presenting at the 3rd Annual Alternative Sexualities Conference in San Francisco. Ooh. It is happening the Thursday before Folsom Street Fair. So whatever date that is, I don't know, 20-something.
So you're not even coming home? You're just staying for Folsom?
Staying for Folsom Street Fair. I haven't gone for years. I'm going to go to Folsom Street Fair. I haven't been there in a long, long time. I hope they still have the 5-foot-tall ice sculpture of a penis. That would be nifty. So I'm going to be presenting on teaching college students SM. That's going to be my presentation.
And now, is this
conference?
You're teaching SM in a human sexuality class at the undergrad level?
Undergrad and graduate level.
Okay, so you're speaking to instructors and professors who want to teach.
I'm speaking to, at this conference, I'm going to be speaking to academics.
Okay.
And researchers. And community people are allowed to come to the conference. So if you're just in the community, whether or not you're an academic, you can come to the conference. But when I actually teach in the classroom, I'm teaching to undergrad and graduate students. And, I have a whole lecture put together, and we do a panel presentation and this whole kind of a thing. But what I'm going to do at this conference is kind of tell them about what I've been doing and how many students we've reached and how many different colleges and universities we've been able to get to over the past several years, because we've been doing this for several years now through the center. And sort of what the reactions have been. I've been gathering sort of emails and quotes and things from people about their reactions to us coming into their classroom and doing this sort of thing.
Students?
From students and professors. For the most part, we get a wonderfully welcoming, thing. It's a wonderful word. From
Isn't that a power exchange? I mean, have you ever had a kid sit there and say something like, you know what, this is so unnatural and goes against the word of God?
Sure.
You have? Okay. Because
Sure.
I'd be curious, because, when you walk into a classroom and you're a student, there's that power exchange with the instructor.
Oh, absolutely.
But you've had kids say, this is so unnatural, or...
We've had, I would say I could probably count on one hand the number of students that we've had who have had a negative, a clearly outward negative reaction where they have said something. Or it goes a little bit more where their body language is telling me that they're uncomfortable. Because all of a sudden, everybody's sort of doing their thing, sitting in the classroom, when we start talking and they start doing this stuff in their chairs, or they're down here on their desk, with stuff pulled up over their heads and all this kind of stuff. And I can tell by their body language that they're very uncomfortable. But that's okay. That's okay. They are where they are, and I don't have to, we don't push too hard.
Yeah.
And I don't target somebody who's clearly physically acting uncomfortable. They'll get what they want to get out of it. And for somebody who is really against us, who really wants nothing to do with what we're talking about, and is, is being very outwardly outspoken about it and is having a negative reaction to us, we've only once had to tell someone like that, you need to stop interacting with us now.
Wow. Yeah.
Because we're not communicating. You're not hearing what I'm saying, and you don't want to hear what I'm saying. I can no longer communicate with you. So you need to stop so that other people can ask their questions.
You're disturbing other people. Isn't there a quiz afterward, a pop quiz? Like, the person's going to fail.
Very frequently they get quizzed. It comes up on exams. They have to write papers about their reactions to our presentation.
Wow.
And now what's happened is, having been in classes for several times now, what I get to experience is, like, I'll go to someone's class and give a presentation and everything. And then a student from that class will go to another class, and she'll be taking some other class somewhere, and go, oh, the panel really needs to come into here, and I'm supposed to do a project or a presentation. So I'm going to call the panel and have them come in and kind of do my presentation for me, and I'll do so much.
Call the panel. Hello.
I'll do so much of this, and then I want you to, come in and do the presentation.
Like Ghostbusters, you guys show up.
So we come in, and that's been really neat too. And we go to psychology classes, sociology classes. I've talked about gender and women and sexuality in anthropology classes. We've been in law classes. We've been, and some of it's human sexuality. Some of it is, sex in the law. Some of it is, future therapists, people who are either in an undergraduate or graduate level working on being therapists and counselors, who are trying to get into that. Okay, now the DSM is telling me this. What's your take on it, and what's happening? People who are going to be physicians and nurses and physical therapists and things like this, because they need to know. If somebody's coming into your ER, because they got some sort of damage or something,
was this
stuck
abuse somewhere?
Right, but was this abuse, or was somebody doing something
standard.
kinky?
Yeah.
We need to know. Law enforcement needs to know whether, if they're walking into a situation because somebody's neighbor heard screams or something, and they come in, they need to know whether or not this is an actual abuse situation that's happening, or did the neighbors hear something maybe they shouldn't have heard, and this is really just kinky sex games happening.